Hello. One out of every 2 internet users across the world are Yahoo users. And when you're talking about this scale, you are talking about a whole host of new types of technology challenges that you get to deal with. I equate this to the difference between kids building model rockets in their backyard and a NASA launch. Very different level and scale of challenges that you're going to deal with in making sure that you have a successful launch sequence than, say, building something that's going to go a couple hundred feet in the air. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about scale is I'm talking about hundreds of millions of users, hundreds of thousands of hosts, hundreds of petabytes, and I mean petabytes with a P, of storage, and tens of thousands of different cluster configurations. What are the types of challenges that you run into when we're talking about this kind of scale? Well, really the complexity of the technology itself. So, for example, Yahoo is a very broad, diverse set of products. You can compare, say, a Yahoo Mail to a Facebook, but you can't really compare, for example, Yahoo to a Facebook. You've got very different breadth of different types of applications. A Yahoo News and sports and finance is very different than, say, Mail and Groups and Flickr, search, all these kinds of things. And so a single set of tools to support a single set of configurations is just not going to work. So the other thing that you're going on is there are no off hours when you're talking about global products. You can't do maintenance in the middle of the night because, by the way, it's daytime somewhere. So you really have to get the ability to do changes and things like that without any downtime. And when you are this big, you have a big old target on your back for every abuser out there. It's a badge of honor for somebody to be able to hack in or abuse a Yahoo site. I'm going to talk very briefly about 2 distinct examples of the types of challenges that we deal with and the fun that we get to innovate around. The first is a spam example. So Yahoo Groups is always a target for email spammers. And one of the things that we found was we keep a very close eye on this because clearly this is a big user experience issue. We noticed that we were getting over 20 million emails a day going to Taiwan users from Yahoo Groups. This was a little suspicious because there's really only about 18 million internet users in Taiwan. So we knew that we had a problem here. The first thing we did was look around. Hey, is there anything out there that we can use to help us identify and delete these groups very quickly? And what we found was for the scale and the volume of tens of millions of emails a day, there really wasn't. Now, we did look at, Spam Cop and a couple like that actually are feasible to use. But again, for the volume of tens of millions of emails a day, the effort required would have been prohibitive. So we ended up deciding that we were going to have to develop a solution specifically aimed at identifying groups. And we did that basically as a framework, actually very similar to kind of the Spam Cop approach. And it's a framework that allows us to very rapidly roll in new rules, innovate on rule sets, and roll in new data sources. So this was very good, very exciting. But what we found was that to do an entire scan with any individual rule set was actually taking days. And we were actually, the spammers are very quick, and they were actually having more new groups created every day than we could actually identify and delete. So that wasn't going to work. So we needed to be able to take away, and instead of having a serial process running, we needed the ability to parallelize and distribute this. So what we did was we went and we migrated over to Hadoop, running as a pig service, and we're able to parallelize that and go literally from taking days to do a single scan to being able to do it in hours. And what this allowed us to do was then very quickly, rapidly innovate on new rule sets to keep ahead. Spammers, you're kind of dealing with whack-a-mole, right? You find one set of things they're doing, they come out with something new, and they're constantly trying, and you need the ability to constantly be getting ahead of them. And what you can kind of see here is this is an actual metric that we run, looking at starting in August, where we started seeing, geez, we've got upwards of 25 million coming in. The key things to take away from this are that we were able to rapidly innovate each day to the point where we have a magnitude of rule set that really lets us keep ahead of the spammers and keep that rate very, very low. So I'm running out of time, so I'm going to start talking even faster. The other thing on a scale of Yahoo is the global. When you're talking global, you are talking about getting to people all over the world. And obviously, performance is a very big user experience issue. From a pure performance, you'd replicate your infrastructure every place in the world. But that's not going to be cost effective, and God knows it's an operational nightmare. So Yahoo's been spending a lot of time really innovating on utilizing edge services and something we call pods to allow us to have a few individual property setups, but be able to have these pods that bring the performance much closer to the user. And the way this works, and I'll just go through, I know there were some more detailed discussions about YTS, and if you didn't see those talks, I really encourage you to go online and look at them. But basically what we're doing, YCPI really basically significantly reduces the three-way handshake, the TCP three-way handshake. So what you can see here on the left is an example of just in the US alone, the difference between East Coast and West Coast. And basically, just to complete from the browser request to the data request is about 300 milliseconds. And with YCPI, with the YCPI proxy in place there, you can see that it actually is reduced to about 150 milliseconds. So the total page download time goes from about 600 milliseconds to 350 milliseconds. Now, this is just in the US. So you imagine, where you have lower bandwidth or you have even greater location distances you're dealing with, the improvements are actually magnified pretty significantly. So this is one of the ways that we are able to take the Yahoo properties out to the emerging markets, the small areas of the world where a lot of times previously it would not have been cost effective to serve into these markets, and yet we are able to go in and provide the products into them today. So, these are just a couple examples of the types of pretty exciting challenges and areas that we get to innovate on at Yahoo. I know there's been a bunch of other talks today. I just kind of list them here. If you didn't have a chance to go see them, I heavily encourage you to go look. I know that they should be all up there. And that's pretty much it. I'm 2 minutes running over. So I'll let you all go to lunch. Thank you very much.